Hey, the 10mm semi-auto is undeniably getting more and more popular for bear defense, defense against big wild animals, and even heavier bullets are getting introduced. Let's take a look at one of them. Guy Miner here from UltimateReloader.com. Today we're going to take another look at the 10mm, the good old 10mm Glock, and in this case we've got a new bullet from Berry's, a 220 grain flat nose, thick plate, .401 inch diameter plated bullet that Berry's is putting out, and I think we can probably use that as one heck of a good practice bullet. So originally the 10mm came out back in '83, and the original gun for it had all kinds of teething problems, couldn't get magazines for it. Basically it sort of fell off the earth and it really faded away, the cartridge did, in popularity for a while. Then other companies started saying, that's quite a cartridge, let's put it in production, and we started getting guns from Smith & Wesson and Colt and eventually Glock and others have all come up with these 10mm, and its popularity has slowly started growing. As that has grown, there's gotten to be a real interest in the 10mm semi-autos as an alternative to the big 41 and 44 Magnum revolvers for bear defense. And that seems to be something that's attracted a lot of attention among shooters. Probably a lot more guns out there being sold for it than actually used for bear defense. That's okay. And the ammo for that purpose has gotten rather expensive, the factory ammo. We're going to take a look and see if we can save some money with some practice ammo built around the Berry's 220 grain plated bullet. So this bullet is a thick plate version of Berry's plated bullets, meaning it can withstand some pretty high velocities, no problem. It is an alternative to either cast lead or jacketed bullets. Works just fine from what we found out today. It's budget oriented. One of the nicest things about this, other than the way it shoots, is that it's going to save you, the shooter, money while you're doing your practice. That's really important. You got to figure that if you're going for something important, like you're going up on some big trip to Alaska or Montana or somewhere where there's grizzlies running around, and you can have a pistol with you for self-defense, which is real nice and easy to carry, you want to be good with it. You probably never have to use it, but if you do, you better be able to use it well and quickly. So this 220 grainer is even heavier than the 200 grain Berry's bullet we used a few months ago and got some really nice loads for this same pistol. Added another 20 grains of bullet on there. You can see that's getting to be a pretty big bullet. It's available from Berry's in either 250 or 500 round containers. Now, things to remember about this bullet. It was designed and intended for target practice. It is not marketed as a hunting bullet. Berry's is very clear about that. It does have velocity limits. You don't want to push it too hard. You could wind up stripping copper plating off it. I don't think that's going to happen in the 10mm. Load data you can get from a variety of sources. I went to Hodgson's online stuff, and either data for cast bullets or data for jacketed bullets will work just fine with this. The one important consideration with these Berry's plated bullets is not to over crimp them, whether you're talking about a roll crimp that rolls on into the side of the bullet, or if you're using a taper crimp. I personally prefer the taper crimp tremendously when I'm dealing with semi-autos. Helps them feed better, the headspace nice, the whole thing just works out good. Don't overdo it. Don't want to break that plating. So I built these hand loads on one of my favorite presses, Lyman's Turret Press. Great press. I've used it for all kinds of things, rifle loads, handgun loads, and in this case I use 4 dies from Hornady. I've got my sizer, I've got my expander die to expand that mouth out a little bit so you don't wind up shearing off any of the plating. I've got the bullet seeder, and I've got the taper crimp die. That all worked out really, really well on this. Went ahead and used their powder measure and the good old mechanical scale, the beam scale, and came up with very nice consistent charges that I was throwing. They stayed within about 0.2 or 0.3 on the measurements that I did whenever time I would throw one of these charges. Also used our good old Frankfurt Arsenal hand priming tool to prime these things. Absolutely effortless, very, very easy to use, and does a nice job. Taking a look at the cost breakdown on these are only about 20 cents each for the bullets. Loaded, cast, 220 grain ammo can be over $2 a shot. So you can see right now that we're on our way with an inexpensive bullet of being able to hand load our own inexpensive practice ammo. New brass is about 25 cents. The bullet's about 20. We have primers for about 9 cents each, and powder is about 4 cents each depending on your load. We came up with about 58 cents for each round, or $29 for a box of 50. Taking a look at some of the factory ammo out there in 220 grain 10 millimeter, 220 grain cast for $42 for 20 rounds. Not 50, 20. 220 grain cast for about $28, 220 grain cast for about $20. And then 230 grain cast for $25.50, again for only 20 rounds. Now all that is good ammo, there's no doubt about that, and it is worth the price. However, if you're just blowing rounds downrange practicing on steel or cardboard targets or something, getting used to your gun, getting used to handling it, getting used to making those shots, yeah, saving some money is a really good idea. So that's what I think of for this. Several different loads are listed by Hodgdon for the 10 millimeter with a 220 grain bullet. Ramshot's True Blue, Hodgdon CFE pistol, Winchester's 572, Hodgdon Universal, and Winchester 244, all listed in there to give you over 900 feet per second with their max loads. Now, some of these commercial loads that are out there are well over that, 1,100 plus feet per second. There's some real magic going into those things. I decided to stay down in the 900s with these loads. Figured they're for practice anyway. I probably didn't need full-on barrel stopping power out of this particular load. And I went with the CFE pistol. We had lots of it on hand, and it's worked out well for me in the past. We used our Glock semi-auto with a 4.6 inch barrel, a couple of standard 15 round magazines, and it's, you take a look at it, it's just a good overall package. It's easy to shoot, it's accurate, reliable, it's a good gun. There's other 10 millimeters out there you may personally prefer. Myself, I'd like to get one in 10 millimeter, or a 1911 in 10 millimeter someday. So I started out working my way up, and I got to the max on 5.8 grains of the CFE pistol, and that was Hodgdon's max load, and it came up quite a bit short from what they were advertising in their manual, almost 100 feet per second short. But it looked pretty good. It didn't have a, it had an extreme spread of 26, standard deviation of 9.5 feet per second. And I said, you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and try to push this a little bit. So I loaded some more with 6 grains and 6.2 grains. This is not something you want to do casually. You have to take a look at your pistol, you have to take a look at the data, and you have to really think this through. It is easy to go over pressure on a pistol cartridge. Going up a full grain can get you an awful lot of extra pressure in there that you really don't want or need. So we got some really good results when I tested these 6 grain and 6.2 grain loads, which are over max according to Hodgdon's manual. We got up into the 9s, which is exactly where I wanted to be, up in the 9s, and really nice tight extreme spread and SD numbers. That one with the 6 grain loads, now admittedly that was only 5 shots, but 5 foot per second extreme spread from the highest to the lowest, and standard deviation of 1.8. That's pretty awesome. I feel comfortable with that 931 foot per second out of the 6.2 grain load. That's about 50 feet per second less than Hodgdon had listed for their max load in their manual with a slightly longer barrel. So yeah, it's not absolute top end loads, but they were good loads, they were shootable, no harm came to the pistol, and I think that that'd be something for you to take a look at. Stop with a 5.8, see if that's good enough for you, and where you go after that, that's on you. So shooting steel is one of my favorite things to do with a handgun. Good fun. You know, you get that boom clang, or once in a while you get that boom and then there's no other sound, and you know, we can do better than that. That's why I have to practice. So these looked like very useful practice loads to me. They were powerful, undeniably powerful. There's a good bit of recoil with these 220 grain bullets out of a relatively light handgun like this Glock. Lots of fun shooting them though, and they did perform well. Now, there's a note I'd like to make though. You start asking the Glock to go out of its normal design specs and away from the 200 grain bullets and up into heavier, you might want to consider going to a heavier recoil spring to help handle that and keep the pistol from battering itself, damaging itself. So just something to think about. We did not do that with this pistol. It worked just fine, but this was not an extensive test to see if we could damage the gun. In conclusion, I look at these 220 grain 10mm bullets and ammunition that I built as a very good substitute for expensive hunting ammo. There's no reason to go blowing that extremely expensive ammo downrange in big quantities when you can go ahead and buy yourself 250 or 500 bullets or more from Berry's and load up as many as you want and go out there and shoot that, practice, get very familiar with your gun. It's recommended for all 10mm pistols. They're pretty economical, not compared to like a loading for a 9mm, but compared to commercial 10mm ammunition. And they are definitely accurate enough for some serious target practice. So what I want to know is, have you been using any of these 200+ grain bullets, the 220s, the 230s, anything like that? How have they been working out for you? What sort of a firearm are you shooting them out of? And yeah, drop a comment and we'll have a discussion. It's about time to wrap this up.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. If you're interested in custom rifles like what we build here on the channel or gunsmithing services, you're going to want to go to rifles.ultimatereloader.com and get on the wait list. Thanks again for watching.